This video is about one very brief segment of the quarterly meeting of the Medical Board of California, specifically the presentation that the executive director, Regi Varghese, gave about the financial condition of that organization. Now, full disclosure, I do not like Regi Varghese at all. I think his incompetence is stunning, and I think he is profoundly dishonest. And I know this because the man lied about me. In a different case, where they tried my real psychiatrist with gross negligence or something, and it's still not completely clear why, but they dragged me into it. They've ignored many complaints I made about the fake psychiatrist I had at the community clinic I went to at the time. They never investigated it. Nobody picked me up on the phone. Yet they told the most vile lies about me that I've ever seen. I will be going over that in the future in videos in some detail. I'm not going to do it here, but I had to share what I saw here because it is so ridiculous. But it is also revealing of the way the Medical Board of California thinks and the way they operate. So enjoy.
Moving on to the budget update, which I wanted to take some time to highlight certain things. Per estimate as of November 30th, 2024, that is fiscal month 5, we are projected to end this financial year with an estimated budget surplus of between 3.5 and 4% budget surplus.
Is that any good? A 3.5% budget surplus? I'm not a financial analyst, but I would think 20%, 30% might be more in the range. 3.5% is certainly nothing to brag about.
But from about, as you all know, from about fiscal year 21-25, 21-22, this board was operating with borrowed funds or loans in the total amount of $24 million.
Most people don't know this, but the Medical Board of California, in order to just pay its bills, pay its staff, and keep operating, they had to borrow $18 million from the Bureau of Automotive Repair. That's another state agency. They're also regulated by the Department of Consumer Repairs, which is also supposed to regulate the Medical Board of California. And it really hasn't gotten much attention, but what it really points to is this is a failed business model. The Medical Board of California is supposed to operate solely off license fees it collects from doctors, and they couldn't even make it doing that. So it must have been a little bit humiliating for them because they see themselves as the highest profession there is, doctors. And they had to borrow money from lowly auto mechanics. It's really an unusual deal, and it just stinks to high heaven.
As per the published budget for this fiscal year, we estimated to take another loan in the amount of $27 million.
That's this year. That's another $27 million they have to borrow this year. Varghese is going to try to spin this another way, that somehow this is a good thing, but you really have to be drinking a lot of Kool-Aid to be able to believe him.
But I'm very happy to report that if we maintain the current trajectory of the fiscal control, we may only need a smaller loan or eliminate the loan requirement completely. This is a major noteworthy achievement.
A noteworthy achievement. Seriously? That they might be able to pay off part of the loans they never should have taken in the first place. I think what everybody needs to be aware of is that Mr. Varghese, who is their executive director, was their associate director before that, the associate executive director before that. This all happened on his watch, and he should be held accountable.
Credit for this moment of triumph goes to the team of dedicated MBC staff with a strong resolve to process improvement throughout the organization. Also, I need to acknowledge HQIU and the AG's office for them joining MBC shoulder to shoulder in finding savings and expenditure reduction.
A moment of triumph. Are you freaking kidding me? He's calling this a moment of triumph. He goes on to share the credit, I would call it the blame, with his own employees at the Medical Board of California. HQIU, I believe, is the um, Health Quality Investigative Unit, which is part of the California Attorney General's office, who he also blames or credits. And then he says they stand shoulder to shoulder, which they should not be. They're supposed to be separate agencies. That's a whole nother problem all its own. But let's continue with whatever this is.
Legislators and the governor for trusting our ability to be good stewards of our funds and operations and approve our fee increase ask. All of you board members advocating for changes and supporting your staff at MBC, the profession for their support with our sunset ask and fee increase.
So Mr. Varghese proceeds to share the credit slash blame for this moment of triumph with the governor, Governor Newsom. I wonder, does he know that? Did you tell him, hey, thanks, we're bankrupt now, we're giving you the blame? The California State Legislature and the rest of the medical board and the profession itself, the medical profession, all those people will get the credit for this moment of triumph, this massive 3.5% budget surplus. And he mentioned sunset provision. I don't know a whole lot about that, but that is a provision in the California state legislature where they will sunset whole agencies. They'll say, basically, if we do nothing, you just go away. It's a good law, because otherwise things just stay there forever. Um, and somehow they weaseled their way into using that sunset provision to get more money, to get more fee increase, so they can, screw doctors and patients alike, continue to do just crappy job for everybody. And so they blame the profession. But that sunset provision is interesting because all the California state legislature had to do to resolve this was to do nothing. If they did nothing, then the Medical Board of California would have just gone away, and something better would have replaced it. But there would be no damage whatsoever to this agency going away. None. I am 100% convinced of that. Won't try to explain too much about that here, but literally, if it disappeared tomorrow, nothing bad would happen. There might be a few minor things you'd have to do. There may be a small skeleton staff to just manage the licensing, but this agency is not needed. They approved it. The California legislature is good at doing nothing, you guys. All you had to do was do nothing, and this was a perfect opportunity to do nothing. So you've allowed these people to continue to damage the lives of many people, to damage the profession, to damage people's faith in government, and just to harm people in general throughout the state. I have to say, I'm also taken by the sheer number of groups and people he has dragged into this to share the credit or blame for this stunning triumph he's made. So far, I might even be missing some. He has mentioned the Medical Board of California staff itself, the Office of Investigative Services, the California Attorney General, the Governor of California, who he says believes they are good stewards of their financial resources. They certainly are not. The state legislature is on his team with this. I can't read my own writing. The medical profession itself, he is credited or blamed for this abomination success. But one he didn't mention is kind of interesting. Never said them once. The Bureau of Automotive Repair. They lent you nearly 20 million bucks, dude. I think they deserve a thank you too. So I'm just wondering, Mr. Varghese, to leave anybody off your list here? How about the U.S. military? The brave men and women of our armed forces, keeping us safe while you and your staff works diligently for this 3.5% budget surplus. Who else? How about the mothers of America? Motherhood, that's always a good one. They gave you love and support while you were working. And you certainly, everybody has credit for mother. Why'd you leave them out? This is absurd. As I say, this is the theater of the absurd. Everything with the Medical Board of California is absurd. You'll be going into a very, very deep rabbit hole if you try to figure out how these people work.
And finally, but not the least, the public advocates who stood steadfast in their continued support and partnership in our effort to improve our fiscal position and protection of citizens of California.
By public advocates, I believe he means patient advocates. At every medical board meeting, a number of people speak who have been there for years. Constant failure. They never got their own cases investigated. And they're there to help other people. And what he is saying might technically be true because a number of them alluded to that. They did help him get the fee increase they wanted because they couldn't pay their own bills in the hopes that they would use that money to improve the agency and make it less dysfunctional. I guess I'll put it that way. They never did any of that. Who knows what they do with the money? Well, I do know, but I won't go into that now. There is a concept with these patient advocates that I just recently learned. It's called forced activism. I don't think those people wanted to be activists. I certainly didn't. I have zero interest in this field, in medical. In fact, I really hate it. My mental health program was criminalized by a lying con man who claimed he was my psychiatrist, which I've never even met. That's fine in their world. If the doctor says something, it's the truth. If it's written in your medical records, it is the unvarnished truth, carved in stone. So these people are as clueless as it can get. But if you listen to what these advocates say, the medical board stabbed them in the back. They are outraged. And all you have to do is listen to the video. There's hours of them ranting about it. They stabbed them in the back. So it's kind of outrageous that he would even mention that here.
Then the next report is the expenditure projection report as of fiscal month 5. And this is line item budget. And at the bottom of that report, you will see that we are projecting a surplus of 3.43%. But this is my prepared remarks about this part of the agenda, and I'll be happy, and my team will be happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
So Mr. Varghese is back to bragging about his massive budget surplus of 3.5%. Nobody could possibly be stupid enough to think this is good news, could they? I mean, nobody's that dumb, are they? To think a 3.5% budget surplus is good news? Nobody's that stupid. Well, except the medical board itself. See for yourself what happened next.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions or comments from the members? All right, Dr. Thorpe, we'll start with you.
I think this deserves a standing ovation, actually. And I'm serious. I mean, that's it.
Wow. Just wow. Now, I am not necessarily picking on Dr. Thorpe. He is certainly clueless, like everyone on the Medical Board of California is clueless, with one possible exception. And Dr. Thorpe does occasionally make a good point. You have to sort through a lot of inane stuff to get to his good points. He was previously the head of the California Medical Association, which is the real power behind the throne here. But this is insane. But there is one policy consideration I should mention here. It just so happens I have a graduate degree in a public policy related issue. Never used it. I worked my whole life in the private sector. I had some really good diverse experience as a technology project manager. I was just getting back to it when the decision was made to criminalize my successful mental health treatment program. I was correctly diagnosed and successfully treated for ADHD as an older adult in my late 60s, actually. And as part of the political schemes that were going on at the time at Family Health Centers of San Diego, a guy I never even met claimed he was my psychiatrist, and that's just fine in their world. But even a really basic understanding of public policy and budgeting knows that in the public sector, you can never consider a budget in isolation. Take, for example, an organization or an agency that manages road repairs. They fix the potholes. We'll keep it simple. Now, supposing the executive director of this road maintenance agency went before a similar board and says, I've got great news. We've got a massive surplus, maybe something reasonable like 20%, not 3.5%. Would everybody stand up and applaud? I doubt it. They would want to consider that. They would want to compare that. Well, did you fix more potholes also? And the executive director says, no, we didn't fix any potholes, but look at all the money we have. Anybody would know that's insane, stupid, ridiculous. But that is exactly what he just did. And apparently he got away with it. So I guess in parting, I just have to say about public policy, the Medical Board of California. And what I want to say is this, that the Medical Board of California would not know good public policy if it came up behind them and bit them in the ass. Thank you for listening to this video or watching it, and thank you for your attention.